Imagine sitting down to write this, like, sprawling sci-fi epic. You've got a universe in mind, you have the tone totally locked in, but...
You can't actually write a single word yet.
Right. Before you can write a single word of the plot, you have to let a literal piece of plastic dictate your protagonist's deepest traumas.
Oh, yeah, the dice.
The dice. I mean, your hero might be a decorated admiral, or, they might get severely injured in a training accident on day one, lose their entire career, and end up smuggling illegal weapons just to pay off medical debt.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And that is really the magic and, honestly, the sheer madness of a collaborative role-playing game.
Yeah, madness is the right word.
It totally forces you to relinquish control because, when a single author writes a novel, they act as this omniscient god. They know every twist, every character motivation, every secret before the ink even dries. But in a tabletop setting, you are essentially building the airplane while you are falling out of the sky.
I love that analogy.
Right. The narrative just sort of emerges from the friction between the player's intentions and the cold, hard mechanics of those dice.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are taking you, our listener, deep into a stack of transcripts from what is known in the community as a Session 0.
The most important session, arguably.
Exactly. We are looking at a campaign set in the Spinward Marches, and it's called Vault Hunters.
Which is a great name.
It is. And the players are using the Mongoose Traveller 2nd edition rule set. So their mission for this specific session is to construct a rich, anime-inspired sci-fi universe entirely from scratch.
Right, before they even get to the game.
Yeah, before they roll a single attack or fire a laser rifle, they have to build the literal sandbox they're going to play in.
And for anyone listening who wants to understand the hidden architecture of world building, this is basically your backstage pass.
Oh, absolutely.
A Session 0 is not just administrative paperwork. It's not just people arbitrarily assigning numbers on a character sheet.
No, it's way more than that.
It is the crucible where the entire DNA of the campaign is synthesized. I mean, you get to see how seemingly random mechanics and group improvisation lock together to forge this highly complex, deeply interconnected conspiracy.
Right.
It's the foundation upon which every future session is going to rest.
So we join the group as they're sitting around a voice call. They've got blank character sheets in front of them, and they are pitching the fundamental laws of their reality.
Setting the ground rules.
Right. And they agree right out of the gate that the tone needs to support, quote, anime levels of action.
I love that direction.
Yeah, so we're talking high kinetic energy, melodramatic stakes, larger-than-life set pieces.
The fun stuff.
Exactly, but before they can inhabit that world, they need a location. So they debate for a bit whether to start on some, Dust Bowl frontier planet or a busy transit hub.
Which are very classic sci-fi tropes.
Totally. But they eventually settle on something massive. They go with a Gundam-esque space habitat.
Specifically an O'Neill cylinder.
Right.
For those who might not know, this is a massive structure floating in deep space. I mean, if you are standing on the surface inside it, you don't look up and see the sky.
And see the ground.
Exactly. You look up and see the ground curving overhead on the completely opposite side of the station. It's wild. And they decide to name this immense, self-contained habitat Panopticon.
Panopticon. And building Panopticon is where their knowledge of the established Traveller lore introduces a pretty major hurdle.
Oh, the AI issue.
Yeah, because in the core Imperial setting of this game, autonomous artificial intelligence isn't just, frowned upon. It is strictly universally banned by Imperial law.
It's a massive taboo.
Right. Yet, the players collectively decide that Panopticon is an idyllic, highly advanced society completely managed and controlled by a sentient AI.
Which is slowly degrading into a dystopia over the centuries, naturally.
Naturally. But, to reconcile their cool concept with the strict rules of the universe, they have to do some heavy narrative lifting.
They really do.
Oh.
Because if AI is illegal, then Panopticon just cannot exist on the open map.
Right. It would be destroyed instantly.
Exactly. So it has to be a highly classified shadow project. They established that it's hidden way out on the fringes of Imperial space, completely off the books.
Wow.
Orchestrated either by a ruthless megacorporation or this secretive entity they start referring to as the Shadow Court.
The Shadow Court. It essentially becomes the Truman Show meets the Matrix.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
Just a sealed terrarium floating in the void where millions of inhabitants are being watched, managed, and manipulated by this forbidden intelligence.
Yes.
But I have to push back on this approach for a second.
Okay, go for it.
Because You sit down to play a tabletop game because you want a universe of infinite possibilities, right?
Generally, yeah.
Doesn't starting with such a massive, heavy restriction, like a strict sector-wide ban on the very thing your homeworld is built around, doesn't that stifle your creativity right out of the gate? It feels like you are just throwing up a massive brick wall before you even start running.
Well, what's fascinating here is that imposing severe restrictions is often the quickest way to jumpstart a narrative.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. In game design, absolute freedom is paralyzing. Constraints breed creativity.
I guess that makes sense.
By placing a banned, highly illegal AI at the very center of their existence, the players haven't limited themselves. They have instantly generated a grand conspiracy.
Oh, I see.
The restriction provides the necessary friction. Because the AI is illegal, the station must be hidden.
And because it's hidden, there must be powerful people keeping the secret.
Exactly. And instantly you have villains. You have immediate life or death stakes.
Right.
And you have a built-in reason for the characters to eventually rebel.
Right. The walls they put up are exactly what they are going to spend the campaign tearing down.
There you go.
That completely reframes the whole exercise for me, because the characters are born into this illegal, corrupt vault. Their lives are going to be inherently shaped by that corruption.
Down to their very core.
Which brings us from the macro level of building the terrarium down to the micro level of who actually lives inside it.
The character creation.
Yeah. And in Traveller, characters are created using a life path system. You don't just write a backstory, you actually play a minigame.
It's a whole process.
You roll dice to determine your childhood environment, what career you enter, and whether you survive your terms of service without a catastrophic mishap.
And let me tell you, the life path system is notoriously unforgiving.
Oh, I've heard.
It relies entirely on the dice to dictate your triumphs, your career advancements, and most importantly, your traumas.
The trauma is real.
It is highly deterministic. A player might sit down wanting to build this pristine, untouched hero, but the dice might decide they spent 4 years in a brutal prison camp.
Which is wild. So let's look at the incredible results this group rolled, starting with the gritty end of the spectrum.
Okay, who do we have first?
The player for Milt decides to go the merchant route. He gets a job moving cargo, but during a smuggling run, he rolls an event that allows him a massive discovery.
Oh, those discovery rolls are huge.
Right. And the group decides this discovery is the horrific truth about the Panopticon habitat itself.
He sees behind the curtain.
Literally. Milt accidentally witnesses the robotic enforcers, realizes the reality of the AI control, and just completely panics.
I mean, who wouldn't?
True. So he becomes a terrified whistleblower, he steals a beat-up free trader ship, and flees out into the Spinward marches.
See, Milt represents the everyman who just saw too much. The dice handed him a discovery event, and the player weaponized that event by tying it directly to the central Shadow Project conspiracy they had just built.
It's so seamless. Then you have Ruki Venn.
The scout, right.
Yeah, Ruki goes into the scout service, exploring the fringes of space, and during his career phase, he also rolls a major discovery event.
Another one.
Yeah, he stumbles across what he assumes is an illegal pirate base, but when he scans it, he realizes it's a secret military installation belonging to the Shadow Court. Right. His superiors immediately wipe his ship's logs, and he is essentially bribed with 80,000 credits to stay quiet.
That is a lot of credits.
It is. And the twist is, they let him keep his scout ship.
Wow. So he took the hush money.
He totally took it.
So Ruki is structurally compromised from day one. He knows a piece of the puzzle, but he chose self-preservation over exposing the truth.
Exactly.
The dice gave him wealth and a ship, but the narrative cost was his integrity.
Now contrast those gritty, paranoid stories with Sakura Helliston.
Okay, Sakura.
The dice decide Sakura is from a colony boasting a tech level of 15, which is super high, right?
Very high end.
Yeah. She is wildly wealthy, has neon pink hair, and operates as a massive social media influencer.
I love this pivot.
But she uses her vacuous public persona and this high-end physical gym she owns as active camouflage.
Right.
It's a complete front for deep, corrupt underworld connections. She is basically hiding criminality behind vanity.
It is such a brilliant subversion of the typical sci-fi rogue.
Yeah.
She doesn't skulk in the shadows like you'd expect. She hides in the brightest spotlight possible.
It's so smart.
Mm.
And finally, we look at Leonardo.
Leonardo.
The player rolls a 19 on a life event chart, which triggers a, quote, scandalous or unusual birth.
A 19. That is a very specific, very rare roll.
Right. And from that single prompt, the table just spirals into this incredibly dark lore drop.
What do they come up with?
They establish that Leonardo is the product of a black site experiment involving a hidden lineage.
Whoa.
Yeah. He was subjected to a classified aptitude testing regimen they ominously refer to as the GOAT system.
Wait, GOAT system?
Yeah, like a brutal Darwinian weeding out process designed to separate the sheep from the goats.
Oh, that makes sense. That's dark.
He survives and is funneled into becoming a highly trained agent for the Shadow Court. In the lore, he is actually designated as a catalyst.
A catalyst.
Yeah. But okay, here's where it gets really interesting.
Right.
I struggle to see how this doesn't just devolve into total chaos.
How do you mean?
I mean, if I'm playing a gritty, terrified whistleblower who's smuggling rations, and someone else rolls a neon pink influencer, and another player is a Black Ops super soldier from the GOAT system.
Yeah, they are very different tones.
How does the game master not just lose their mind trying to make that cohesive? Doesn't relying entirely on random dice brew a totally disjointed mess?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at how the human brain actually processes disparate information.
Okay.
Human beings are natural pattern-matching machines. When players are handed these seemingly random, chaotic prompts by the dice, they do not leave them in a vacuum.
They don't just ignore the differences.
No, they actively start twisting and molding those random events to fit the overarching Panopticon conspiracy they built in step 1.
I see.
The dice provide the raw, chaotic materials, sure, but the players provide the narrative mortar.
Right.
So Leonardo isn't just any super soldier. He was manufactured by the very shadow court that runs Panopticon.
Which ties him to the station.
Exactly. Ruki didn't find just any pirates. He found the shadow court's military enforcing that AI ban.
Wow.
Milt didn't just smuggle random goods. He smuggled them into the hidden core of the station. They are using the random dice to flesh out different corners of the exact same conspiracy.
So the dice aren't breaking the story. They are actively demanding that the players think harder to connect the dots.
Exactly. They are reverse engineering a unified plot from chaotic variables.
And that brings us to the next critical phase of Session 0, which is party formation.
The tricky part.
Yeah. Having rolled up these wildly different, traumatized, secretive characters, they now have to justify why they are even sitting in a room together.
Right.
They have to bridge the gap between individual isolation and a unified crew.
And this is often the most vital and honestly most difficult part of the collaborative process.
I can imagine.
Because you have 4 compelling solo stories, but you need a catalyst to make them a team. In the Traveller system, they actually use a specific connection rule for this. Yeah, you are mechanically incentivized to weave your backstory with the other players. If you can explain how your characters crossed paths in the past, you get free skill points.
Wait, just for making up a story?
Yep. And in a system where a single point in a skill can mean the difference between passing or failing a life-threatening check.
Because it's that 2d6 system.
Exactly. It's highly lethal. So players are very, very motivated to build those bridges.
And the way they construct these bridges is incredibly grounded in the narrative they just built. Like, Milt is currently stranded. His impounded ship is locked down by the port authority, and he is literally surviving by eating 50-year-old military rations he found in a cargo hold.
Leak.
Very. And Sakura, utilizing her wealth and social status, reaches out and invites him to her upscale brownstone to eat real, actual food heated by her fancy tech level 15 technology.
That's quite the contrast.
Yeah, maybe she sees a useful patsy in him, or maybe she just respects his grit. But that connection gives them a mechanical bond.
Right, they trade skills.
Exactly. Sakura gives someone a point and advocate representing her legal and social protection, while Milt provides medic training.
It immediately establishes a power dynamic.
How so?
Well, Sakura is the provider, right? And Milt is the desperate survivor relying entirely on her goodwill. It anchors all this high-concept sci-fi in very human needs. In this case, simply needing a hot meal.
That makes so much sense. Then Ruki comes into the picture. He brings his astrogation charts and scout data, and he shares them with Milt and Sakura, trying to figure out a logistical way out of the system.
Bringing his expertise to the table.
Right. And then there's Leonardo. He was initially sent by the Shadow Court to either brief them on a mission or hunt them down.
Wait, which one was it?
The transcript is actually a bit ambiguous on his initial orders, but Leonardo ends up breaking his programming.
Oh, nice.
He rejects the GOAT system conditioning and allies with the crew, offering his gunner skills to protect them.
That's a huge turning point.
It is. It reminds me of a television writer's room breaking a pilot episode. Imagine every writer holds a script for a totally different character, and no one knows how the episode ends.
They're just riffing.
Right. They are just throwing ideas at a whiteboard, tying invisible strings between a smuggler and an influencer, hoping it holds together.
It's pure collaboration.
But let me ask you this. When they are sitting around assigning skill points like advocate or medic and debating whether Ruki met Leonardo on a dusty moon 5 years ago, is this just administrative setup? Or is this where the actual game begins?
Oh, this is absolutely where the true game begins.
Really?
Oh, yeah. The collaborative connection phase isn't a prologue. It's the foundation of the campaign. By tying their backstories together, the players are forming mechanical and narrative safety nets.
Safety nets.
Yeah, when they teach each other skills, they're essentially signaling to the game master, hey, these are the themes we care about, and this is how we intend to protect each other.
That's fascinating.
It prepares them for the world the game master is about to unleash on them. They aren't just filling out spreadsheets. They are actively rehearsing their team dynamics and establishing their shared morality.
And they are going to need those dynamics immediately because the game master wastes absolutely no time.
Not a second.
With the backstories locked in, the consequences of the world they just collaboratively built crash right through the front door. The line between Session 0 and Session 1 completely vanishes.
It bleeds right in.
They are hanging out, figuring out their connections, and suddenly, bam! A massive, lethal shootout erupts in a parking garage.
The world is reacting to them before they even have time to get comfortable.
Yeah.
And like we mentioned, in a 2d6 system like Traveller, combat is fast, brutal, and highly lethal. A parking garage ambush is a very serious threat.
It is pure chaos. Sakura, the wealthy social media influencer, ends up physically tackling a fleeing man from a squad of what they describe as men in black.
Wow, go Sakura.
Right. These heavily armed, black-armored attackers who just tried to wipe them out. When the dust settles, the crew searches the attackers and finds a military-grade tablet.
Oh, the plot thickens.
On that tablet is a massive bombshell. Ruki and Leonardo are actively wanted for crimes against the state under strict imperial secrecy codes.
So the Shadow Court has found them.
Exactly.
The secrets they rolled during their life past generation, Ruki's hushed-up military discovery and Leonardo's classified existence, have just materialized as heavily armed hitmen.
And the crew realizes they need to steal a military vehicle just to escape the immediate block.
Are trapped.
Yeah, they realize they need to get to their ships and get off planet, but they discover that the local naval ports are completely locked down.
Everything is sealed.
Their ships are trapped. They are fugitives in a massive lockdown city, but this is where Sakura leverages that backstory they just spent hours building.
The underworld connections.
Yes. She contacts her underworld tailor because, of course, the decadent influencer has a corrupt underworld tailor. And she cashes in a favor to acquire custom Imperial Navy uniforms so they can disguise themselves and bypass the blockade.
See, it's a perfect application of narrative setup paying off in immediate gameplay. The game master is actively rewarding the player for establishing those underworld ties during character creation.
And the deep dive into this transcript ends on this incredible cliffhanger.
Okay, set the scene.
Disguised in their Navy uniforms, they arrive at a chemical evaporator drop site, trying to find a clandestine way-off world. Suddenly, a military shuttle lands, the doors open, and out steps a highly decorated naval officer surrounded by guards stepping right into their path.
Oh, no.
Cut to black. End of session.
That is a phenomenal ending.
Right. But so what does this all mean? The tonal shift here is wild. It's like watching a slow, methodical indie film about character creation that suddenly turns into a Michael Bay action pilot.
It really does escalate fast.
Did they just spend hours and hours meticulously preparing deep, nuanced backstories about black site trauma and corporate whistleblowing, only to immediately abandon all of it to play dress up as Navy officers and shoot guns in a parking garage?
Well, this raises an important question about how role-playing games function in practice versus in theory.
Okay.
It might look like they abandoned their backstory for cheap action, but the reality is that their backstory is the direct catalyst for that action.
How so?
Sakura didn't just stumble into a disguise, right? Her underworld tailor is a direct payoff to the corrupt colony she rolled in her life path.
That's true.
Leonardo and Ruki aren't just being randomly shot at. They are wanted by the state because of the classified military secrets and hidden lineages they established just an hour prior.
The world is reacting to them.
Exactly. The world isn't ignoring who they are. The world is reacting violently to exactly who they decided to be. The dress-up and the shootouts are merely the symptoms of the deep disease they built into their universe during Session 0.
The action isn't a distraction from the backstory. The action is the backstory weaponized against them.
Beautifully said.
And that is really the ultimate takeaway from this entire stack of transcripts. Session 0 is an absolute masterclass in spontaneous world building.
It truly is.
It proves that if you set strict constraints like banning AI to force a conspiracy, and if you embrace the chaos of random chance through unpredictable dice rolls and prioritize deep interpersonal connections between vastly different characters,
You get magic.
you can create a universe that is richer, more tangled, and more surprising than any single author could ever write on their own in a vacuum.
Because it relies entirely on a collective imagination. It relies on the synthesis of different perspectives,
Yeah.
forcing you to constantly adapt to other people's ideas.
Right.
It is an exercise in letting go of your ego and trusting the group's narrative instincts.
Think about how you could apply this mentality to your own creative endeavors.
Oh, yeah.
When you were writing a story, planning a project, or just trying to generate new ideas, how could embracing random constraints force you out of a rut?
It's a great thought experiment.
What happens when you let a random variable dictate a plot point, or when you force yourself to collaborate with someone who has a vastly different perspective? Sometimes you just have to roll a dice, embrace the chaos, and see how the pieces connect.
You really have to trust the process of collaborative discovery. The most memorable stories are rarely the ones we rigidly plan from start to finish. They're the ones that surprise us along the way.
Absolutely. As we wrap up this deep dive into the source material, I want to leave you with one final lingering question based on the lore these players built.
Lay it on us.
If the Imperial Navy, the legitimate, established military force of the galaxy, is actively enforcing the spaceport lockdown and hunting our crew for crimes against the state, what if the Panopticon station wasn't just an isolated rogue AI experiment? What if the vault they thought they were escaping is actually the entire Imperial sector?
Oh, wow. That changes the scale of the conspiracy entirely.
Right. What if they never actually broke out of the blueprint? What if their every move, from the parking garage shootout to the evaporator drop site, is still being perfectly orchestrated by the Shadow Court?
That is terrifying.
You can tear up the architect's plans all you want, but at the end of the day, someone still built the room you're standing in. Think about that the next time you roll the dice.